Testarossa. Herzlich willkommen. Now, expression of meaning occurs predominantly through verbal language. Language also has a number of separate levels of meaning, representing distinct levels of intersection between our minds and others. The Onion says emotional, archetypal, symbolic, esoteric in the middle. It must be understood that each of these levels of language represents a modulation of the tension of the four shells of bodily rhythm. Thus, each level of meaning represents a distinct intersection of that tension. This distinct intersection manifests in, again, the frequency and velocity by which that tension is expressed, as with the spatial transformations described with regards to the plate of the hands. We perform these same transformations within our minds through the four levels of verbal meaning. For example, the holding of two contradictory ideas in the mind at the same time produces tension in the mind, which manifests as tension in the body, which is expressed through the spatial plates. Likewise, the resolution of a conflict between two ideas manifests as a release of that tension, which extends into the body and is expressed through the spatial plates as an alteration of the frequency or velocity of an action. The spatial transformations that described in relation to the plate of the hands represent the creation and release of tension within the mind, manifesting through the emotional tension in the joints and muscles of the hands. Was bedeutet das? Mach ich dann so? The emotional plate is the lowest of higher plates, and that is, oder so, that it constitutes pure, unadulterated emotion. Its vocabulary is as simple as the five senses and the internal emotions that we all know. The emotional plate is the strata through which intersections between expectation fields are formed between the physical plates among people. The content or vocabulary of this plate is crucial to stream of subjective experience. When two people have a common emotional reaction to something, they mirror the expression of that emotion. When two people have a divergent emotional reaction to something, they do not mirror that expression. The archetypal plate is the next lowest of the higher plates. The archetypal forms the controller of the emotional plate in that the archetypal vocabulary and orientation of a person governs their emotional vocabulary and thus the stream of their conscious experience. Archetypal forms are of a limited kind. There are only so many archetypes that possess potentiality for individuals. Think of this vocabulary as the primitive forms of human identity. The fisherman, the soldier, the dancer, the singer, the joker, the father, the mother. These archetypal forms are thousands of years old and embedded in the DNA. The symbolic plate is the next lowest of the plates and integrates the archetypal and emotional plates through orientation. It is in this plate that identity archetypes become ideal or juxtaposed. Was? Nebeneinander stellend.
Juxtapose.
Juxtapose. Leider habe ich nicht kapiert, was das vorher war, was das alles bedeutet hat. The holding of two contradictory ideas. Zum Beispiel, was nicht als Beispiel? Ich habe Bock, mir was zu kaufen, aber will kein Geld ausgeben. Und der Konflikt zwischen diesen Ideen äußert sich als Release im Körper. Ich fange an zu zittern. Ja, okay, sowas. Ja, gut. Das ist, glaube ich, simpler, als man denkt. Ja, ich werde nervös oder ich weiß nicht, was ich tun soll. Oder ich werde hippelig oder narrisch oder so, ja. Oder mir wird heiß oder kalt. But juxtaposed in value judgments cemented by the emotional vocabulary of the person. The final and highest plate is the esoteric. The esoteric plate provides the architecture nicht French Kiss und nicht Bench Press, sondern French Press. Uah. Alter. Ey. Ich weiß nicht, was ich da jetzt sagen soll dazu. Dass ich das nicht mal kann. Von hier nach da, ohne zu schlabbern. Das ist unglaublich. The final and highest plate is the esoteric plate. It is the plate which integrates the physical plates and the higher plates into a single cohesive structure. It does this to object-oriented archetypes to a limited vocabulary. Unlike the archetypes of the archetypal plates, which are personal, the archetypes of the esoteric plate possess only limited personality. Objects such as doors or gates, windows, bridges, pens, shoes, knives, cups, or bowls, tables possess this quality. So there are many more. Wieso schreit dieser PC eigentlich so? So there are many more. If you are curious, the English language is woefully capable of expressing the personal aspect of these esoteric objects, which other languages do by adding gender to nouns. Knowing the archetypes of the esoteric plate is part of mastering its knowledge. For each of these objects possess a key to understanding the architecture of the plate system. Think of two doorways into a room as the only way for two people to meet and form common emotional experience if they come from two different directions. Chapter 5. Up until now, we have been discussing intersections between two expectation fields as if there is only one way they can interact, but now I'd like to elaborate that interaction. There are in fact two ways that two expectation fields can interact. First, if they are the same expectation, they can resonate. Second, if they are of divergent expectation, they will be discordant. Now life fundamentally abhors discordance, which means that it is disorders will have to be resolved somehow. But first, I'd like to elaborate the disorders a bit. When two expectation fields interact and there is disordance, this manifests as tension within the common expectation fields, just as holding contrary ideas within the mind at the same time manifests in the body as tension. The tension must be eliminated somehow before it produces what is ultimately a glitch. The time it takes for that disordance to be eliminated is called the substitution time. So, jetzt nochmal schlabbern, oder nicht? Boah, ist auch zu heiß. If that disordance is not eliminated before it produces a glitch, then the time it takes for the common expectation field to correct the glitch is the correction time. A correction time manifests as an altered state of higher than normal social tension. Thus, we can say that all bodily tension and tension created by disorders within the common expectation field can be measured by the concept of the substitution time. In the above diagram ist halt so eine Kurve. The time it takes. Ich finde das wäre saugeil, wenn er ab und zu mal sagen würde, wie das in echt dann aussieht. Zum Beispiel. Ich versuch's, aber ich weiß es nicht ganz genau, weil ich nicht alles so richtig verstehe. Ich glaube, es ist ungefähr so, dass du kommst in den Raum und du denkst, alles wären deine Freunde, aber plötzlich fällt dir auf, dass die lästern zum Beispiel. Wenn du dann nicht diese Zeiten, die der da sagt, nutzt, um deine Erwartung zu ändern, passiert ein Glitch. Du kriegst Paranoia, du hörst auf zu reden, du wirst nervös, du rennst wieder raus oder sowas. Sowas, ja. Oder du wirst verwirrt. Das heißt, immer wenn Erwartung auf Realität prallt und die Erwartung nicht erfüllt wird, gibt es Reibung quasi. In the above diagram, the time it takes for the group emotional tension to return to baseline is the substitution time. Ja, wenn du so merkst, so, hi, und alle lässt so, aber ohne, also du wirst Teil der Gruppe, indem du dann vielleicht mitlästerst. Oder quasi als Donny Brasco, der denkst, okay, jetzt höre ich mal, was die da zu erzählen haben, um vielleicht rauszufinden, was passiert, wenn du gehst, was sie dann sagen über dich, wenn du nicht mehr im Raum bist. Man kennt es. The manner by which it goes from the peak to the baseline is to what are called postural releases. Postural releases are movements of posture, which represent one person giving in to the expectation field of another. Ich habe da immer angefangen zu zittern. so Schüttelfrost habe ich bekommen. Wenn ich gemerkt habe, oh, die sind nicht so harmonisch drauf wie ich. Gern wer. Thus, a postural release is any movement which transitions the individual from a discordant posture or expression to a consonant one. Mirroring. The above diagram should be understood within the context of the below diagram, which shows that mirroring within the social grouping will degenerate as the group emotional tension increases and will resolve once the emotional tension reaches baseline. Deswegen lästern dann alle mit. Ja, das ist wirklich sehr interessant. Deswegen sind Gruppen von Menschen immer gleich. Das sind dann nur Hater. Weil wenn du als einziger Lover quasi, oder man muss ja nicht Lover sein, als einziger Nicht-Hater in der Gruppe von Hatern musst du einer extremen, und wie, wenn man hier glauben kann, einem extremen körperlichen Druck ausgesetzt. Wenn du nicht spiegelst, was sie machen, also wenn du mitmachst, was ja quasi das Gegenteil von Spiegeln wäre, quasi wenn du homogen zur Gruppe wirst. Wenn du das Gegenteil machst, bist du ja der Außenseiter. Und dann fängt Mobbing an, quasi. Weil wenn du in eine Gruppe von Dämonen kommst, als Engel, bist du trotzdem der Dumme. Weil du diesem Druck nicht standhältst. Now identifying these postural releases within a social setting provides one bisschen zu unstark. Moment. Ich muss die Dosierung noch lernen. Jetzt hat er eine schöne Farbe. Ja. Mhm. Provides one an opportunity to increase the likelihood of creating a glitch. As these postural releases are necessary to eliminate the discordance between two expectation fields, the elimination of the postural release or its delay should elongate. Das sind die Tweets von Elon Musk. Elongate. Okay, jetzt wieder Englisch ist Englischen. Englishing. Elongate heißt es dann wahrscheinlich. Länger werden. Pause.
Elongate.
Elongate. Okay, das heißt wirklich so. Elongate. Elongate the substitution time and therefore increase the likelihood of a correction. Using the methods described above under the headings postural exercise and social exercise has the effect of altering the normal dialogue of a social exchange. Warum habe ich das Gefühl, dass es seitenverkehrt ist? Thereby dislodging these postural releases in time. The elimination of postural releases can preserve a higher state of emotional tension in the group, but so too can holding two contradictory ideas in the mind. There are a variety of ways this can be done. Jetzt wird's interessant. First, it can be done in relation to an emotional state or attachment. Second, it can be done in relation to an object. For example, if our two actors are participating in a conversation and one of the actors, within their own mind, conceives of two contradictory feelings about something the other person has said or done. This would produce a discordance between their corresponding expectation fields. Likewise, the second actor might alter his or her orientation to some object to produce discordance. For example, if the first actor offers the second actor some item of food, the second actor can refuse if the expectation is she will accept. Finally, the second actor may possess a contradictory feeling about the other actor themselves, love and hate, fear and attraction. Was? The second actor can refuse if the expectation is she will accept. Finally, the second actor may possess a contradictory feeling about the other actor themselves, love and hate, fear and attraction. The method of creating a glitch through the mind is a form of mental gymnastics. Recognition that the transformations that we make with our hands are the self-same transformations we make within our minds. Relative to ideas, feelings allows one to exercise the mind in such a way that it becomes easier to produce such discordance. There's no easy way to practice this form of glitching, but the below exercise will enhance one's ability to think discordantly. In this exercise, you will try to increase the number of contradictions in your mind. Think about a subject that you find your mind extremely divided in. For example, politics, religion, or spirituality. Think about the contradictory impulses that you have in one of these subjects. Let's say you find yourself conflicted about the religion that you believe in. Whatever it is, the more contentious, the better. Focus on these thoughts, then find some medium like the internet and read about them. Try to heighten the division in your mind. So if you are feeling sympathetic to one political faction, immerse yourself in the other. As you do so, you should find the contradictory impulses becoming more pronounced. Ich kapiere nicht ganz, worauf der hinaus will. Und dann? Der ist irgendwie nicht fertig. Wieso sollte ich das machen? Was ist der Glitch? Das ist einfach abwägen, oder? It's chapter 7. This chapter is intended to elaborate how physical space relates to mirroring. Tension, how glitches arise from unique places and orientations in space and time. Mirroring of each other is only possible relative to some objects, a common orientation. War noch ein bisschen süßer. Stärke und Süße. Ja. Mirroring of each other is only possible relative to some objects, a common orientation. You can only mirror someone's posture if you have a common orientation to some object like a table or a chair. The physical geometry of people and objects reflects the underlying conditions of consonance. Übereinstimmung. Ich muss gestehen, dass ich nicht genau weiß, ich bin auch geglitscht innerlich. Ich weiß nicht, ob das Buch nicht gut ist oder ob ich zu dumm bin. Es könnte sein, dass der ganz simple Sachen extrem kompliziert erklärt. Ich weiß nicht genau, was er mit dem Glitch meint. Wie lange dauert denn das Buch noch? 33 Seiten habe ich, 77 kommen noch. Man wird es, glaube ich, noch rausfinden. For example, let's say there are two people meeting at an office shop for the first time. Let's say there is a table and only one chair. If one sits down, the other is left standing. And there's little chance to mirror each other's posture to enhance the expectation field. Aha, das ist jetzt mal gut. Weil das bestätigt, was ich gedacht habe. Das sind so alltägliche Situationen, wo Menschen aufeinander reagieren, nicht nur mit dem, was sie sagen, sondern auch, wie sie sich bewegen. But if they both remain standing opposite each other, postural mirroring is possible. Reflective of the optimal arrangement. If one sits down, it's likely to create discordance and prompt a divergence or antithetical emotional reaction, which will attenuate the common expectation field. Attenuate. Dämpfen, schwächer werden. Abschwächen. Thus, the physical arrangement of objects plays a role or reflects the underlying conditions for resonance. Ja, jetzt sind wir in der Matrix. Now, not only do the arrangements of objects in space play a role, but so too does their geometry. If one person turns and puts his back to the other, du unterhältst dich so jemand, du drehst dich einfach um und redest weiter. Der heute Mittag hat besser geschmeckt. Der war nicht stark genug. Zu wässrig. Or if one of them turns slightly, there's a point at which this position will impair mirroring. Now, what if we bring a third person into the mix? Instead of one person meeting a stranger at a coffee shop for the first time, we have two friends and a third stranger. In the same way, this group has to optimize their orientation in space relative to some object to enhance mirroring. The difference is now we have a more complex shape or pattern to their common orientation. We have a triangle centered on the point of common orientation. Thus, the arrangement of groups produces optimization of particular geometric shapes. For each increases in the number of individuals, we have a different arrangement to best maximize mirroring. Knowing these shapes and manipulating them to prevent and create mirroring at inopportune moments provides one the ability to increase substitution times and more reliably produce glitches in groups. Let's say two people are converging on a road driving at same speed. On this particular road, two lanes merge. That is, if they continue to mirror each other, they will crash. Thus, the road contains within it a constraint in physical terms on where mirroring can and cannot occur. The geometric shapes used in the construction of infrastructure plays a role in where in physical space mirroring can and cannot occur. If you go back to the example of two strangers meeting with one chair at a table, this arrangement provides an opportunity. The two might begin mirroring each other, posture, facial expression, vocal intimations, and then promptly one of them might sit down. And then casually, as the mirroring decays, stand up. Thus, using objects to create patterns and break them assists in producing longer substitutions and glitches. The release and creation of tension in social situations reflects this pattern. When two people release tension at the same time, it produces a resonance. Ha! Thus, in our example of the two strangers farting, at a coffee shop, one sitting down, mid-conversation, we have a situation where one has obtained a release not shared by the other. Individuals who desire to mirror posture and posing can only do so if they are within line of sight. as such a system requires that groups of social actors engaged in mirroring form certain geometric shapes to enhance mirroring. However, the orientation of social actors also plays a role in their position within a geometric arrangement. It also helps us to identify who is the receiver or releaser of social tension. This person will also, by virtue of its orientation, be the person with the highest pre-release tension. Chapter 8. Now, what are the ultimate implications of all these concepts and ideas? What is the end goal of glitching techniques? Aha, the answer is 1, to produce a divergence of our expectation field from the common expectation field. And 2, to produce a separation of the plates of meaning in an observable fashion. Reality is a fluid construction, a patchwork construction comprised of the intersections of our 5 spatial plates and 4 plates of the mind with others. Glitches are of 2 dimensions. They can be produced either by disrupting that common expectation field or by separating the individual plates which compromise it. The end result of either of the 2 is the production of experiences of a variety of forms, including the appearance of doppelgangers, telepathy, synchronicity, Truman Show-esque experiences, gang stalking, precognition, body switching, the occurrence of strange or unnatural events, the Mandela effect, retrocausality, and others that escalated quickly. Hä? Wie krass? Leider kapiere ich das nicht. Das heißt, wenn ich mich mit einem Typen in einem Pause, mit einem Menschen in einem Coffeeshop treffe, mit einem Stuhl, kann ich einen Mandela-Effekt erzeugen. Indem ich mich hinsetze, weiterrede und abrupt wieder aufstehe, oder was? There is no limit to the strange and unnatural world created by glitching. Nor is this book the end of the discussion, for there are just as many ways to produce glitches as there are ways to skin a cat. Aber das stimmt, das stimmt. Wenn man zum Beispiel die TikTok-Videos, denen ich zurzeit folge, mit ich habe die ganze Parfümerie vollgeschissen und jetzt verfolgen mich die Mitarbeiter und sprühen mich mit Parfüm ein. Das hat auf jeden Fall in meiner Wahrnehmung und ich glaube auch in der Realität schon Glitches ausgelöst, weil das Internet ist voll davon und Leute sehen das. Und da das so inappropriate ist und so unexpected, dass das so echt aussieht, die Leute so sympathisch sind, aber alles voll scheißen, haben viele Leute, echte Leute, die jetzt Videos drehen, einen Glitch in sich, dass sie denken, ich erzähle hier gerade, ich bin in Dubai, aber eigentlich wollen sie sagen, ich habe alles vollgeschissen. Und die Bediensteten in dem Hotel, in dem 5-Sterne-Hotel, verfolgen mich jetzt. Und wenn alle das denken, gibt es einen weltweiten Glitch. Weil TikTok hat ja jeder. Und YouTube auch. I love YouTube.